In a surprising turn of events, a Boeing 737 MAX jet recently made its way back to the United States from China. This wasn't just any routine flight or delivery. This was a plane that had been built specifically for a Chinese airline, and its journey back across the Pacific raised eyebrows throughout the aviation industry. Normally, when a plane is built for a foreign airline, it stays in that country, serving passengers and helping the airline grow its business. But this time, something was different. The aircraft, which was supposed to join the fleet of a major Chinese carrier, was instead sent back to the United States, leaving many to wonder what had gone wrong. The reasons behind this unexpected return are complex, but at the heart of the matter are the ongoing trade tensions between the United States and China. These disputes have created a challenging environment for international business, especially for companies that rely on global supply chains and cross-border partnerships. The return of the 737 MAX is a clear example of how these larger issues can have very real, tangible effects on individual businesses and their operations. The 737 MAX itself is a symbol of modern aviation. Built by Boeing, one of the world's largest and most respected airplane manufacturers, the MAX was designed to be efficient, reliable, and capable of connecting cities across continents. Boeing's reputation for quality and innovation is known worldwide, and the 737 MAX was meant to strengthen that legacy. This particular jet was destined for Xiamen Airlines, a prominent Chinese carrier. After being assembled in the United States, it was flown to a specialized Boeing facility in China for final touches and customizations tailored to the airline's needs. This process is common in the industry, allowing airlines to receive planes that perfectly match their specifications. But instead of joining Xiamen Airlines' fleet, the plane was unexpectedly flown back to the United States, landing in Seattle, the heart of Boeing's manufacturing operations. This reversal was not just a logistical hiccup, it was a sign that deeper issues were at play. The return of the 737 MAX became a powerful symbol of the growing rift between the US and China. Trade disputes, regulatory hurdles, and political disagreements have all contributed to a climate of uncertainty, making it difficult for companies to plan for the future or fulfill international contracts. This incident wasn't just about a single airplane, it highlighted the broader challenges facing the entire aviation industry, where global cooperation is essential but increasingly complicated by political and economic tensions. The ongoing trade war between the US and China has made it harder for companies to operate smoothly, threatening jobs, investments, and the future of international travel. The story of the 737 MAX's return is a stark reminder of how global events can impact even the most advanced industries, and why finding solutions to these disputes is more important than ever. Imagine two giants standing face to face, not with fists raised, but with their economies at the ready. That's what a trade war is, a fierce contest between countries, but instead of soldiers or weapons, the battlefield is made up of goods, services, and money. In a trade war, countries use their power over trade to try to gain the upper hand. They might put up barriers like taxes or rules to make it harder for the other side to sell their products. Each side hopes to hurt the other's economy enough to force a change in behavior or policy. It's a high-stakes game, and the effects can ripple out to businesses, workers, and consumers all over the world. These tactics can include making it more expensive or complicated to buy and sell goods across borders. Sometimes it means mountains of paperwork, surprise inspections, or sudden new fees. The United States and China are the two largest economies on the planet, and their relationship is especially important. They're not just trading partners, they're also rivals, each trying to be the world's top economic power. Every year, billions of dollars worth of goods travel back and forth between these two countries. From electronics and clothing to machinery and food, their economies are deeply connected. But even as they depend on each other, the US and China are locked in a constant competition. Each one wants to come out on top, whether it's in technology, manufacturing, or global influence. This rivalry sometimes leads to tense negotiations, heated debates, and even outright conflict over trade rules and business practices. In the past few years, this tension boiled over into what's known as a trade war. Both sides started taking actions that made it harder for the other to do business. The US government, especially under the previous administration, accused China of unfair trade practices like stealing technology or giving special help to Chinese companies. American officials argued that these actions were hurting US businesses, leading to factory closures and job losses in some industries. To fight back, the US put tariffs, special taxes, on hundreds of billions of dollars worth of Chinese goods. The idea was to make Chinese products more expensive, so American companies would have a better chance to compete. These tariffs meant that every time a product from China entered the US, it cost more. That extra cost often got passed on to American businesses and shoppers. As a result, many everyday items, from smartphones to toys, became more expensive for American families. The trade war didn't just affect governments, it touched the lives of millions of people on both sides of the Pacific. China didn't just accept these tariffs. Instead, they responded swiftly and decisively, making it clear that they would not back down in this escalating trade dispute. They fought back with their own tariffs on American goods, targeting a wide range of products from agricultural exports to high-tech machinery. This was a calculated move, designed to hit the U.S. economy where it would hurt the most. One of the most significant American products hit by these retaliatory tariffs was airplanes, a sector dominated by the U.S. giant Boeing. Airplanes are not just any export, they represent billions of dollars in trade and thousands of American jobs. The Chinese government placed a staggering 125% tariff on airplanes made in the U.S. This was a dramatic increase, instantly making American aircraft far more expensive for Chinese buyers. This meant that Chinese airlines, which had long relied on Boeing for their fleets, suddenly had to pay a lot more money to buy planes from the American manufacturer. The cost difference was impossible to ignore. A plane that might have cost $50 million before now cost over $110 million. For airlines operating on tight budgets and facing fierce competition, this price hike was a game changer. These tariffs made it very difficult for Chinese airlines to afford Boeing planes. Many airlines were forced to delay or even cancel their orders, leaving offices empty and planes grounded. The tariffs were a big problem for Boeing. The company suddenly found itself shut out of one of its most important markets, and employees and executives alike were left scrambling to figure out how to respond. China is the world's fastest-growing market for airplanes, with new airports opening every year and millions of new passengers taking to the skies. For Boeing, losing access to this market was a devastating blow. Boeing was counting on selling a lot of planes to Chinese airlines. These deals were supposed to secure the company's future growth and support thousands of jobs back home in the U.S. The tariffs disrupted Boeing's plans in a major way. Orders were postponed, production schedules were thrown into chaos, and the company faced mounting uncertainty about its future in China. They made it much harder for Boeing to do business in China. Sales offices sat empty, negotiations stalled, and the company's presence in the country began to shrink. The return of the 737 MAX jet was a direct result of these tariffs. Boeing needed to find a way back into the Chinese market, and the stakes had never been higher. The 737 MAX jet that returned to the U.S. was a victim of this trade war. Xiamen Airlines had ordered the plane from Boeing, but then the tariffs were put in place. The tariffs made the plane much more expensive for Xiamen Airlines. The airline probably couldn't afford to pay the extra cost. It's also possible that the Chinese government discouraged them from buying the plane. Whatever the reason, the plane was not delivered. It was flown back to the U.S., undelivered and unwanted. This was a big financial loss for Boeing. It also showed how the trade war was disrupting the airplane industry. And this wasn't just a problem for one plane or one airline. There were other Boeing planes in China waiting to be delivered. These planes were also stuck because of the tariffs. The trade war with China hit Boeing at a really difficult time. The company was already dealing with the fallout from two fatal crashes involving the 737 MAX jet. These crashes had led to the grounding of the 737 MAX worldwide. Boeing was trying to recover from these crises, and they were hoping to get the 737 MAX flying again soon. They were also hoping to sell more planes to China. But the trade war made Boeing's recovery much harder. The tariffs added another layer of uncertainty and risk to Boeing's business. The company had to find a way to navigate these challenges. The return of the 737 MAX jet was a setback for Boeing's recovery. It showed how the trade war was hurting the company's bottom line, and it also raised concerns about Boeing's future prospects in China. The problems caused by the trade war weren't limited to Boeing. The entire airplane industry was affected. The tariffs disrupted the global supply chain for airplanes. Many parts of an airplane are made in different countries, and these parts are then shipped to other countries for assembly. Tariffs disrupt this process. They make it more expensive to move parts around the world. These disruptions create uncertainty and delays for airplane manufacturers. They also increase costs for airlines and, well, this can lead to higher ticket prices for passengers. The trade war between the United States and China threatened the health of the global airplane industry. It was a reminder of how interconnected the global economy is, and it showed just how quickly trade disputes can have far-reaching consequences. The impact of the trade war extended far beyond the airplane industry. Many other industries were affected by the tariffs imposed by the United States and China. American farmers were hit hard by Chinese tariffs on soybeans and other agricultural products. Chinese consumers faced higher prices for American goods like cars and iPhones. The trade war slowed economic growth in both countries. It created uncertainty and instability in global markets, and it damaged the relationship between the United States and China. The trade war showed how interconnected the global economy is. When two large economies like the United States and China engage in a trade war, it affects everyone. The trade war wasn't just a battle between governments and corporations. It was also a human story. Workers in both the United States and China felt the impact of the trade war. In the United States, factory workers lost their jobs when factories closed or cut back production due to the tariffs. Farmers struggled to sell their crops because of Chinese tariffs. In China, workers in export-oriented industries faced layoffs and reduced hours as demand for Chinese goods declined. The trade war created economic hardship for many families. Honestly, the trade war was a reminder that economic policy decisions have real-world consequences for people's lives. The story of the Boeing 737 MAX jet's return to the United States is a cautionary tale. It shows how trade wars can have unintended consequences, and it highlights the high cost of protectionist trade policies. Trade wars rarely have winners. They often hurt businesses and workers in both countries. They can disrupt global supply chains, slow economic growth, and damage relationships between nations. The trade war between the United States and China was a lesson for the world. It showed that dialogue and cooperation are essential for a healthy global economy, and it underscored the importance of finding peaceful solutions to trade disputes.